If even one of these quarterbacks ends up being an elite top 3 franchise quarterback someday, that is what you rooted against.
Welcome back for the second time this week to the Old Bull and Young Calf Boston Sports YouTube channel. This is our podcast episode. Today, we're going to keep it a little bit shorter on our segments, maybe not time-wise, because we did release that other video this week. My dad's going to tell you the 4 segments we're going to hit on today. Dad, what do we got for him?
So this is it, people. The Super Bowl for the Patriots. Final game of the year. Huge ramifications if they do not lose this game. We're going to give you the short-handed guide. We're also going to attach a bonus video that Matt and I made earlier in the week, mostly my son Matt. It's a big deal what he caught. A lot of sports media outlets saying the Patriots can finish seventh. That is not true. My son proves them all wrong. And we'll tell you more about that in a little bit. And now there's rumors spreading around that the Patriots might be interested in some veteran quarterbacks. Some are going to be available. We're going to talk about that road and if how we feel about that. So see what we have to say there. And then the Celtics fall to the Thunder in a heavyweight bout there. But they showed some signs of resiliency, and we're also going to touch upon the ridiculous schedule the NBA has doled out for them. Matt and I taking a look at it. We hate to be those guys crying about the schedule, but it is legit. It is absolutely terrible what they are putting the Celtics through. So watch what we've discovered there. And then number 3 is going to be the Bruins. The defensive woes that we kind of predicted earlier in the year have come to fruition. They are here in full effect. The offense is, though, starting to bounce back, and there is something I really like about what Montgomery is doing. And I also have some video breakdown of why some of those defensive woes are happening. So see what I came up with tonight against that game against the Steelers. No, sorry, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So apparently, yeah, they canceled the NHL Bruins versus Penguins game tonight, and they decided to meet at Bell Pond for a pickup game because there was 11 goals scored. So, and then we're going to finish off the segment with Wilga's basement bet. See how he did last week and who he likes this week, and then we're going to wrap it up from there. So, start us off, Matt.
Yep. So, segment number 1. As my dad mentioned, we did release a full video early this week where we talk about the 5 most likely scenarios for the Patriots draft position. We detail what games are important and how they land at the 2nd to the 5th pick. Real quick, we're going to do a shorthand of that. I will link the video or put the video on the screen somewhere. You can click on it. I think I'm going to figure out how to do that with YouTube. But Saturday, we want the Steelers and Colts to lose. We played both those teams. Them losing is good for our strength of schedule, makes us look worse. On Sunday, of course, we want the Patriots to lose. It hurts to say, but we do want the Patriots to lose. Commanders winning is good. Cardinals winning is good. Giants winning is good. And then the Saints losing, the Packers losing, and the Broncos losing are all good for us. So keep an eye on those games. We will try and put something out, and don't hold me to it after the 1:00 games as the 4:00 games start to kind of give you a shorthand on what to root for in those games. And then any thoughts on that, Dad, before we move on to these veteran QBs?
Yeah, this is big. It's huge. I can't emphasize. And the problem is we have some things going against us. The Jets are just trash. We've beaten them 15 times in a row. That is my only hope right there is that people are in the Jets ear like you've lost to these dudes 15 times in a row. You're pathetic. Like hopefully they act like men and they get sick of that and they come out. But I don't know. They have to travel to Foxborough and they're probably already making off-season plans. Like I am not expecting them bums to show up. So I mean, hopefully the Patriots are doing the same thing, planning their vacations and they are just off their game. Hopefully there's some bad bounces that go our way because as I reiterate in that video, going from 5 to 3 is difficult. It's not
Yes.
easy. You got to give up a lot
Expensive.
of draft capital.
Yeah, it's
It
expensive.
sounds like it's, oh, that's not a big deal. 2 spot. Even 4 is drastically better. Drastically better. So every slot counts. We need to be as far up as possible. Two would be beautiful. We don't get two, three is good. There's
Yep.
three quarterbacks there. That's what we want. And there could be a fourth. I don't know. I want to see this
Yeah.
championship game because Penix did look awesome. He's got some things Matt and I don't like about him.
Yeah.
His injury history is terrible. He's a couple years older, but man, he looked like a grown man out there. He looked great. I want to see what he looks like against that Michigan defense. So, I mean, listen, I'm all for saying I'm wrong. I'm a grown man myself, and I will
Yeah.
say admit that I'm wrong if I am. So I want to see what he looks like in this in championship game. So we might have more insight on that coming up. So
Yeah.
what about you, Matt?
Yeah, and my dad's hit on all that stuff. I really just hope the Patriots lose. Zach Wilson is ruled out with a concussion, so he's not going to be the quarterback. It's going to be Simeon. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for us. So real quick on Penix
Good
though,
thing.
another
Yeah.
another really bad stat because every time I hear a good stat about Penix, I hear a bad stat. Last year he was sacked 5 times. That's it. This
Oh,
year he was
oh,
sacked
geez.
10 times. That's it. There's like no NFL quarterback that gets even close to that. The guy is playing with like, college level linemen in a peewee game, and he's just not getting touched, and he has injury history. You don't want to put him behind our offensive line. But speaking of
That's true.
putting, fragile bodies behind our offensive line, let's move on to the other part of this segment, which is those veteran quarterbacks. The two that have been linked to us, and I think one of them in particular, Kirk Cousins has been linked to us. I think even before his injury, he was on his way out
Yeah.
of Minnesota. It looks like they're going into some sort of a rebuild. Minnesota's going to want to try and find a new QB. They're not going to give him a contract extension. He's been linked to us. He got that Achilles tear, right? So he should be back, hopefully by training camp for whichever team he ends up playing for. But getting Kirk Cousins and keeping Bill Belichick, I think would be a great move to put Bill Belichick ahead of Shula. I don't think it's a great move to put Patriots fans where we're accustomed to be, which is, you know, contending for a late, January push, right? We want to be in that second round. We want to be in the third. We want to be in the mix. I think Kirk Cousins makes us competitive for maybe a wild card spot, but not much more. Any thoughts on Kirk Cousins, Dad?
I want nothing to do with that overrated loser. Are you kidding me? That guy hasn't won a damn thing. Forget that. That's not the way to go. I mean, that's a good point, Matt. You get Kirk Cousins in here, then he does beat Shula's record. In
Yep.
2 more years, though, remember, before this year started, everyone said Belichick's going to beat that record in 2 years, meaning this nightmare of a season we're in now and next year. No, 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 no. After this trash bag year, he's going to need next year and the year after, which is more reason why we need to get rid of him. So Kirk Cousins, no thank you, complete bum. I don't want him. I mean, do you want this guy, Matt?
No, and I mean his weapons. He's not going to have close to the weapons. I mean, arguably the best wide receiver
Yeah,
in the league in Jefferson, and prior to that, he had Thillian
Thielen.
and yeah, and Jefferson. Um, yeah,
Yeah, the
no,
guy from Buffalo, Diggs. Yeah, Diggs. I mean,
you had Diggs.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
yeah. No, we got the
No.
Stop and Shop brand of wide receivers. I just don't see him coming
Yeah,
to an outdoor stadium, New England, and performing well. I know he played in Washington before, so they're not as cold as us, but they're not like not
no.
like he's been playing in this dome his entire career. But yeah, no, thank you on Kirk Cousins. Next up is good old let Russ cook. This guy, man, what a fall from grace. My dad and I think actually talked about this on the podcast, or we talked about it just in real life about how stacked the AFC suddenly was when Russell Wilson came here, Aaron Rodgers came here. Um, and it's just like, man, we just can't get out of our own way here. And Russell Wilson has become a complete shell of himself. And it's kind of disappointing, right? I've never had any ill feelings toward Russell Wilson. We'll call him Russ for short. But man, all I hear is negative things about him as a leader. I
Mm.
hear that, like Marshawn Lynch said that he doesn't have Russell Wilson's phone number. He was never able to call Russell directly, which is like really weird. He has his own private office upstairs, where the coaches sit. Just and with all that, he's not remotely close to the player he was. I don't know what kind of contract he's going to try and look for. I don't know if he's going to be humbled, try and rebuild his career. Um, if we end up in the fifth pick and Russ wants to sign here for a year or two, maybe. But if anything, that just probably just hurts our draft picks for the next couple of years because again, it probably ekes out a couple wins. So yeah, I don't want Russell on this team. I'm really worried about becoming a mediocre team or staying a mediocre team for any longer than we already have. I want the shortest path to competition, and I don't think Russell gets us there. I think Russell helps us finish, you know, with the 10th to 12th pick for the next couple of years. What are your thoughts on Russ?
Yeah, so if he were to come in on a incentive laden deal and we were built like the 49ers,
We could, yeah,
basically elite at all positions, then I would consider it. Like you said, if he was humble, if we had an elite, just like the 49ers, offensive line, wide receivers, running back,
running back,
tight end,
yeah.
defensive line, linebackers, secondary,
We
and
have
we
none of
could
those
get
things.
Russell Wilson on a cheap. We have none of that. Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, the ghost of Tom Brady, none of that is going to work on this team. We need to completely rebuild. We need to rethink the way whoever the guy in charge is thinks about football. We have some building blocks, but there's so many things that need to be replaced. The the offensive line, large portions of it need to be junked, completely junked. Safety, well, I'm worried they're going to invest money in safety. Safety is another dying position in the NFL. You need cornerbacks, pass rushers, receivers, and tight ends who get open, and the quarterback. That's what you need, and you need to obviously be able to protect them. We have so little of that. So little of it. So no, I don't want Russell Wilson. If he was on a veteran minimum and we drafted our franchise quarterback,
Yeah,
one of these three guys, sure. I mean, I am worried about would he ruin the rookie with his stupid little,
yeah,
nuances or whatever it is that he does. Well, if that's the case, then you got to cut him immediately if he starts
yeah,
pulling these, clown acts like you've been talking about, Matt.
yeah,
So that is the only way I would consider him. We're not built like the 49ers. So I do not want him in here to try to win. I guess if he came in on a veteran minimum contract and was cool with that, and as long as we drafted our franchise quarterback in the top three, that is the only way I want to see Russell Wilson in the Patriots uniform. And by the way, I love Russell Wilson. Love you for that interception. So you always have a special
yeah. Shout
place
out to
in my
Russ.
heart.
What
Russ.
one of the greatest moments I've ever shared with my dad, and was
Yes.
because of
I
Russell
mean,
Wilson.
oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, I
I
remember
mean,
that.
Matt, probably the greatest non-family related moment. I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't you say?
Oh,
That might
for
have been
sure.
it.
I mean,
We
yeah.
went from we lost
Moment.
this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
We lost this game to we won. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still to this
Yeah.
day the biggest play in Super Bowl history.
Yep.
The biggest play in Super Bowl history, singular play. Yes.
Yep. No, I totally agree. So yeah, I think that wraps up our Patriots thoughts. I think we could probably move on to the Boston Celtics. So segment number two, my dad mentioned just before this podcast is going to drop. Celtics did lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think I said that right eventually. They are the kings of the West right now. They're doing a lot. They did go out the next day and get smoked by Atlanta. They gave up 141 points. They did give up 120 something to us. So, you know, my dad was talking about their defense. He's super high on their defense. One thing I would caution is, creating turnovers doesn't always mean that you're great at defense. So I don't think that they're, like right now they are giving up 114 points per game. I think what scares me the most about them is their current cap situation and their asset situation. They have a lot of great young talent on great contracts. I think Sam Presti, I think is their GM. He's done a great job with that team. Luckily, they are in the other conference, but plenty of respect to Shea Gildress, to Chet. Chet looks like a almost finished product already in his first year. He's Ben Simmonsing it. I don't know why that's the new thing nowadays. You skip your rookie year with an injury, and then you can vie for rookie of the year after you get like a whole year of facility and crap. But tough game. One thing that definitely jumped off the page to me was Porzingis. I was blown away with his effort. That guy, I mean, every time he's on the floor, the team's just better overall. And losses like that suck because he did leave it all on the floor, but it just makes me feel more confident that we can rest that guy. We don't have to win as many games as we're winning right now. As long as we can get to a 7-game series, I don't know who can compete with us. I know I just said a lot right there, Dad. So, any thoughts on the Thunder game and Porzingis?
Um, the Thunder, I mean, book it in your calendar. There's going to be probably two Celtics Thunder championship series in the next 5 years. I mean, they are going to be loaded. The fact that they play defense with that young team, usually young teams are garbage when it comes to defense, and they're actually pretty good. They're number 2 in the league, so you can't argue with the numbers. I mean, the numbers are there. Their cap space is amazing. They still have a million draft picks from when they robbed, a couple teams. I know the Clippers are one of them. So I'm glad they're in the Western Conference. They are going to dominate that conference for many years, and we'll be seeing them in the championship at some point, probably multiple times. It was at their place, and we almost came back and won that game, and that was with Matt. If you're a listener of this show, Matt and I are huge Jaylen Brown fans. We love that guy. We stick up for him. We don't care. We don't care about his contract.
Yep.
We recognize how hard it is to get superstars, but hey, we got to tell the truth. We tell the truth. That was his worst game of the year. And the fact that he went 0 for 8 from 3-pointers, from 3-point land, and he only had 3 assists, 4 turnovers, that tells me he wasn't getting his points and he was forcing it. So I'm hoping it's just a 1-game thing. And
5
he's going to
fouls
get a
too.
pass in my book.
Yep.
That just screams to me like, oh man, it's the third quarter and I only have like 6 points. I need to get my points. You don't go 0 for 8 from 3. Once you hit 0 for 3, 0 for 4, it's time to look for different ways to score. And he
Yep.
didn't. He kept chucking up threes. He kept turning the ball over. And despite that, we still almost won this game. I
Yep.
mean, that's how loaded we are because of the unicorn. Porzingis. They should really start maybe focusing on running the offense through him. Let him get double teamed
Yep.
because that will lead to more space for Brown and Tatum. Let him start drawing some double teams instead of Tatum being always the one to get double teamed and Brown. Let Porzingis take on some, and that's going to open up things for Derek White. And you know, so okay, it's a
Yeah.
loss. It's on the road. It's one of the best teams in the league. I'm not worried about it. They came out of it healthy. That's the most important thing. Every game you see, they
Yep.
came out of it healthy. That's all that matters. But Matt, can we touch on this schedule thing?
Yeah,
This,
really quick, really quick. I just want to give some kudos to Porzingis. There's a website called AOP, or it might be a Twitter, AOP NBA. Porzingis right now is having the most efficient scoring post up per possession, post points per post up possession since they started tracking the stat in 2015. When he's posting up, he averages 1.5 points per possession. That's insanity, especially since he's a center and
yeah,
he's posting up all the time. You give him the ball in the post, you're getting a point and a half this season. That's pretty crazy. But yeah,
yeah.
Dad, let's move on to these. And I think this is like a call, the bat signal. I think this is the old bull signal to get in the lab and do a bit more research on this. My dad's gonna give us some info right now, just on what he's noticed about the schedule.
Okay, so I get it. I sound like a crybaby, whining about the schedule. But I went back and I looked because it felt like it happened often earlier in the year. I'm like, why are they at home flying on the road and then back at home the next game, like every other game? It's insanity. And it was happening constantly earlier in the year. Usually, when a team goes out, they go on a road trip, 3 or 4 games in a row. They're on the road. Then they come home and they're home for 3 or 4 games in a row. It is constant back and forth, home game, road game, home game, road game. That is a lot of flight. That is a lot of travel. They are about to start a stretch where they play 11 games in 18 days. And a ton of it is again home, road, home, road, home, road. Eventually, and that's going to wear on a team. And then Matt brought up the Buck schedule. It is constant, like 4 games at home, 4 games on the road, 3 games on the road, 4 games at home. It's like the Celtics might be setting a record for travel time, and they have another stretch coming up where it's constant back and forth, back and forth. It's insanity. Like I give the Celtics credit for not crying about it because whoever made their schedule, it's almost like they're trying to sabotage the Celtics, which
Yeah.
you know goes back to Matt and I had some really good New Year resolutions in the last episode, and one of them was get these other players some playing time, even if it costs you a game or two. We need to see what they have. If Pritchard and Hauser, who are streaky players, don't perform in the playoffs because neither one of them have. We need to know what Banton, Brissett, and Stevens can do. And with these insane stretches coming up, we need to play them. We need to get them some minutes to cut down on minutes on other people. And Matt, there was another. What was that other one I said? 13 games. They have another stretch coming up, little later in the year. 13 games in 23 days. That is insanity
Yep.
with a ton of travel. So you know they need to prepare for this, and they need to start playing these other guys. Like I said, even if it costs us a win or two, because we got to keep fresh for this. And it's with the schedule, I'm worried about that.
Yep, me too. And I think my first thought when my dad put on his little bib and started shaking his rattle and getting all angry about this for the
Mhm.
podcast was like, you're just everyone deals with this, Dad. There's no way. And then I looked at the schedule, and I will try and maybe overlay this for the when I edit. But right now, the Bucks are finishing a 3-game road trip. Then they're going to be at home for 4 games. Then they're going to be on another 3-game road trip. Then they're going to be at home for 3 games, and then going to be on a 5 day a 5 game road trip, and then at home for 4 games. Like, these are 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and it's as much as like the road trip suck, it's better than going home, leaving, going home, leaving, right? Whereas the Celtics, they're home for 1 game, away for 2 games, home for 1 game, away for 1 game, home for 1 game, away for 1 game, home for 2 games. They don't get almost any stability, right? And I think they proved that they perform really well when they have that stability. They were at home against 2 teams that my dad and I were pretty afraid of: the Cleveland Cavaliers, Orlando. They won all 4 games, despite having 4 games, I think, in four days or 5 days. Won all of them. Then they went on the road, and in those 4 road games, West Coast trip that everyone's afraid of, they won 3 of them. The other one, they went to overtime. I don't know why they're getting the short end of the stick and starting to see a lot of these, flip flop, flip flop, flip flop. I don't know what that does to the player. Like my dad said, it'd be great to hear from the players if any of them notice this and are troubled by this. Maybe we're crazy and they don't care, but I'd be surprised if they don't.
Yeah, and again, what we've been harping all year. How about we don't want to run out of gas like we did the last two postseasons? It's And that's what's going to happen. We don't care about that. We want to get to the postseason fresh. We want to polish off teams in sweeps and 5 game series. The only way to do that is to go into the postseason rested. And last year, we've just hit a wall as far as fatigue goes. But this is the most egregious part right here. On this stretch coming up, we have 2 games in a row at Indiana, right? And then we come home to play Minnesota. And then we fly out immediately the next day
for a back to
to
back.
play Milwaukee. Minnesota and Milwaukee are close. Why are we not going from Indiana to Minnesota and then Milwaukee? We gotta go from Indiana back to Boston to play Minnesota, and then the very next day travel to Milwaukee to play them. Oh, and then guess what? 2 days later, we got to fly back to Boston to play Houston. Oh, and guess what? 2 days later, we got to fly to Toronto to play them. And then guess what? 2 days later, we got to fly home to play San Antonio. It's the
Yeah.
travel miles. I mean, I'm sure they're great. They're just racking them
Yeah.
up left and right, but that is exhausting, and it's just frustrating to see. So
Now, any other final thoughts on the Celtics, Dad, before we move on to the Bruins?
no, I'm good. Let's move on to the bees.
Yeah. So we'll jump into segment number 3, and I always like to show the numbers so I know when I'm editing where the heck I am. My dad and I were talking about I was last year we faced no adversity, and my dad said, we need some adversity this year. But at this point, we were just getting drowned in it. We were literally it was a bucket of adversity. We were getting drowned in it. I wanted it to stop, and of course, this podcast is going to drop after the Penguins game. We lost to the Penguins 6-5, but we did just win 4 games in a row, right? Prior to that, and we did something that my dad has been asking us to do, and we haven't done well for the past, I don't know, Dad, month and a half, 2 months, where we had 4 straight games of 4 goals or more without any overtime, which is pretty awesome. Um, we did bring up Murky. We talked about that, but he's been kind of isolated to
Period.
very yeah. They buried him low minutes. He hasn't made any egregious mistakes though, which I appreciate. He's right now he's +1 in his games here with the Bruins. Um, anything you've noticed about him, Dad? Before we move into anything
Yeah,
else.
it feels like he's playing a little cautious. Probably saw what happened with Patriots, realizes, oh, if you make a mistake, you're going to be in trouble. So, and they got him on the fourth line, playing very little minutes. So it's hard for him to thrive in that. I'm still happy they have him up here,
Yeah.
and so see what the kid has. Patriots just, the junior Canadian team got knocked out, so he's coming back soon too. So hopefully they let him jump back in. But yeah, this the scoring's been up. I like that. And what I really loved about the Bruins is it feels like they're focusing on that two scoring lines, like I've been like wanting them to do. It almost feels like they've scrapped trying to have 3 scoring lines. They put all their top end talent that they have available in the top 2 lines, and it's worked lately. So I am
Yep.
happy they've done that, and because the scoring's picked up. But you know, man, the defense, the defense has been rough. And tonight was maybe one of the worst defensive games of the year. It was, Swayman gave up 6 goals, and I don't think any of them were his fault. And that's pretty hard to do. They were all open nets, rebounds, just people not clearing out. And, I almost said to you, Matt, before tonight's game, I said, I'm going to really focus on this game. And I bet I come up with some
And you
some
did.
pretty
Yeah.
bad mistakes, and and I did some videos, and it's not pretty what I found.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, I'm gonna try and do some editing magic, and you're gonna hear my dad talk about some of the plays. Similar to what we do with the Wilkes Basement Bets. We're gonna cut to that, and we have one Grizzlick, 2 Grizzlick, then we have a Carlo, which I'm sure Andrew and Tim are gonna love, and there's a lot of Carlo there.
Two
He really rips
Carlo.
on Carlo. Oh, this is the fourth one, Carlo.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't you worry
Okay,
about it.
my
There's
bad.
two
I
Grizzly,
heard Lindholm when I was watching
two
it, but
Carl.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, my dad has some receipts for you guys. Feel free to text me or comment a really mean comment on our YouTube video. Don't be afraid to call my dad some names. So yeah, take it away. Angry mid game, old bull.
Watch number 48 Grizzly right in the middle of the screen. Every decent defenseman knows, especially when you're killing a power play, the second you see a point man take a shot, you turn around and find someone to cover. Watch what he does. This is like ridiculous. He's like a bad rebounder in the NBA. He's like looking at the ball instead of finding someone to box out. So watch what happens here because he doesn't turn around immediately and look for someone to cover. Watches the puck the entire. Look at it from this angle. See him right there. Looking at the puck, and then oh crap, somebody's right there for a wide open rebound. This one may even be worse. Once again, killing a penalty. Here's Grizzly in the middle of the screen, number 48. What is he doing that high away from 77 Carter, who's in front of Swayman? You have two Bruins out there who are trying to jam up the point man like they're supposed to be. What is Grizzly doing out there? Now here's where the worst part comes in. The play cycles around to the other side, so he finally decides to get back. Watch as he gets back to cover, I guess, the front of the net, because he doesn't cover Carter. He just literally floats to Carter and does nothing. And watch what happens. Huh? What? I guess I should have covered that guy. Absolutely awful. Oh, wait, managed to slip this in there. This one's for you, Matt. Here's my boy Carlo. We all know how much I'm a fan of this guy. Number 25, middle of the screen. So Swayman just gives him a simple little pass here. Watch what he does with the puck. This is just indicative of the whole Carlo experience. And then at the end of this video, watch how he makes everything even worse. So Swayman's just going to give him a soft little flip here. Watch this. What? Where's the puck? Like he's in Pee Wee hockey. Gives it away. His teammate bails him out on a pass, and then it finally gets out of the zone. But watch what happens. Penguins get it right back in, and Carlo, for no reason whatsoever, I'm just going to cross-check that guy to the ice. Penalties called, and then the Penguins score on that power play. This is the problem with him. For every 5 of those bumbles he does, 4 of them, his teammates save them, or the goalie stands on his head and makes a big save. But about every 5th one of those clumsy plays he does, they go in. And this is what drives me nuts about him. Here we go again, Matt, picking on your boy. 25, dead center of the screen right there. Now, in this play, Lindholm basically screws him. He lets Crosby get behind him. Crosby's on right up here. Here's Lindholm trying to recover. 27 right there. Here's the problem. When you're a defenseman and you're in this situation, the puck's here bouncing off the boards. You're always supposed to take away the pass in a 2-on-1. Always. 100% of the time. Leave the shooter to the goalie. He doesn't do that. He just kind of goes towards Crosby, but doesn't really do much to block the pass. So because Carlo goes towards Crosby, Lindholm tries to recover by covering this guy. Instead of just what he should have done, if Carlo takes away this guy, number 59, now Lindholm can try to recover and get to Crosby, who's going to have a bad angle on Swayman. But instead, Carlo does none of that, just sits in the middle and watch what he allows. Right here. Now he's like, oh crap, now I got to take away the pass. He should have been turned around and covering 59, completely taking him out of the play. Now Lindholm can make a beeline for Crosby, who has a bad angle shot. But nope, he doesn't do that, and watch what happens. Little easy pass, wide open net. Thanks a lot, Carlo. So what do you think about that, Matt? I want you to say it right now. Say, Dad, I was wrong. You were right. Carlo is nothing but garbage. Say it.
Nope. I think all that I'm just going to be recency biased, so I'm going to pay attention to the fourth clip, and it just sounds like Lindholm made a mistake. Lindholm led Crosby behind. Lindholm is paid twice as much as Carlo, this more than Grizzlick and Carlo combined. Plus, you could probably buy me a beach house, and for some reason, Lindholm isn't made a mistake, so I blame Lindholm. So
Matt, I am so pissed at you right now. As soon as you were of age, I am putting you in a home.
This lifestyle is a choice. And all they think about is that stupid boat.
I swear, I'm so pissed off at my mom. As soon as she is of age, I'm putting her in a home.
I don't even care. You're going right in a home. And so the Grizzlick, that dude is just clueless.
Grizzlick
Like,
is no
have
one's
a
going to want him.
clue on, like, he's just like not even paying attention to guys who are right in front of him that he needs to cover. Carlo, it's just like bumbling, dumb mistakes. I don't know what. I mean, Swayman couldn't have like floated that pass over to him any softer, and he just fumbles it all over the place, gets his pocket picked, and uh, teammate saved him because he tried to pass it out front, which would have been a point blank opportunity. And then he gets that dumb penalty. And then the other one, it's the oldest rule to play defense. Anytime you're a defenseman on a 2-on-1, you always take the pass away. You take the pass and the other guy away and leave the guy with the puck to the goalie. He had an opportunity to just let Crosby get a bad angle shot with Lindholm trying to recover and bear down on him. Instead, he just floats down the middle
Yeah.
and is basically useless. He might as well not even be there. And he actually created a 2-1-0 for Pittsburgh, where Crosby just sent it over, wide open net, goal.
Yeah.
It's just I see those little things all the time. That's why, Matt, I see the little nuances of the game. I see those mistakes all the time from those two. And it drives me insane. Just because a goal doesn't happen every time they screw up doesn't mean those mistakes aren't there. Because eventually they happen, and eventually the puck does go in the net, and eventually it's the playoffs, and it's disastrous. I want those two gone. Can we get two like Shattenkirks in here? Nothing, solid, steady, not flashy. If he gets a goal, it's probably from a lucky bounce or just a screen. Can we get two stay-at-home solid defensemen to replace those bumps? Because you can't bury them both to the third pairing. You don't want them together in the playoffs. Even if you only play them 10 minutes, they're going to give up 2-3 goals. So they're useless together. You have Lowry, Lindholm, McAvoy. There's your three offensive defensemen. I want Forbath and get two other solid Shattenkirk, and then get me one other solid defenseman. You need a backup too, because injuries happen in the playoffs. That stay-at-home defenseman to go with our elite goaltending. That's what I'm looking for. Get those two trash cans out of here.
Yeah, especially Grizzlick. He's not providing the offense he needs to. We'll see if we can get him out of here. We'll see if we don't have to ship out a draft pick for someone to take him. But yeah, I think that's our Bruins segment. And we can move on to segment number 4. Now, some water was tossed on the flame of the basement bets last week. His pick actually got blown out. The Saints defense is just not to be trifled with, and he tried to play chicken with them, and they absolutely smoked the other QB. I forget who they were playing. But Derek Carr being
at Tampa.
It was at Tampa, yeah. Mayfield looked like Mac Jones out there, so yep.
But hey, he was 5 out of 6 before this week. That's pretty damn good. He won 5 out of 6 weeks.
Yep.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
Yep. But this coming week, he does have a lock for us, and he thinks that these guys are gonna win outright, but they actually do have a spread in their favor. So we're gonna send it over to him, and he'll tell you what it is. So take it away, Anthony.
Everyone, welcome back to another week of Wilgs Basement Bets. Lock last week, lost with the Bucks. I saw it right when we saw the card with public 80% on the Bucks. So should have saw that one coming. This week, bouncing back. One lock, we're going to be taking the Bears +3 at the Packers. Bears looking to spoil the Packers' hopes of making the playoffs. I think the Bears win outright, but we're getting +3 on this play, so I like it a lot. So let's lock it in, win some money, and let's get it.
All right. Thanks for that, Anthony. And I actually agree with this. The Bears are 1-4 out of the last 5. They beat Detroit. They beat Minnesota. See if they can do the sweep and beat the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers haven't been playing that well. And this is actually really good for us because if they win, that should give them even more confidence in Fields. And I think they'll have a harder time getting rid of them. And we do need the Bears to win for our draft pick scenarios. If the Commanders do lose, we lose. That is the game that will matter when it comes to if we can pass the Commanders in strength of schedule. So go Bears for many reasons here. Any thoughts, Dad?
Yeah, I'm a little upset with myself because I wanted to touch on that. The Bears are kind of an important team. They have that first overall pick, and they made trades at the trade deadline to be a good team next year. So my sneaky take is with Fields playing better, I'm really hoping they don't want to, because if they take one of these 3 rookie quarterbacks, they're throwing next year away.
Yep.
I'm sorry, you just don't win a Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback.
On his first year,
It's
yeah,
hard
no.
to get to the playoffs. You can get to the playoffs, hard to make noise in the playoffs. So, I'm really hoping with Fields playing better and he plays really good in this last game, they decide to stick with him and, try to be a playoff team next year. That would, again, we'd have to worry about them trading with another team who wants a quarterback. So,
Yep.
but if they want Marvin Harrison Jr. to go with Fields and they don't want to risk, dropping down to, 3 or 4 and someone else taking them, hopefully they stay pat. They don't trade that pick and take Marvin Harrison Jr. Because it feels like they are building to be good next year. And if they take one of those quarterbacks, they're going to take a step back. So that's a sneaky important thing for us Patriots fans.
Yep. And they actually had a really good stat line last game. So he's going to make it hard on that GM to draft a quarterback. Maybe we just trade Bill Belichick over there and they for the first overall pick. No, but I wouldn't mind that 8th or 9th pick that they have right now. But yeah, I'm talking crazy. And, it's probably why, because I'm so dang tired. You probably noticed I yawned 4 times in the last 5 minutes. This is a late one. I just came back from vacation. I'm tired. We got our 4 segments. Any final thoughts, Dad, before we let these people go?
Hey, you sucked it up. You showed up. You did pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would give you another L. You didn't beat the old bull tonight again, but you fought hard. You're like a little little Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
So,
there you go. Fast PP. Fast PP. That's what they call him. Happy New Year. I don't know. I don't think I said it yet. So happy New Year. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Good night.
Happy New Year. Take care.
I don't know where to begin. We are North American.